Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video. Myself, Sloth and Mike today, the famous trio ready to rate Moyes signings in his second tenure for a tier list, which is always going to be quite controversial. But if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. Lads, let's get into it. There's quite a few signings to go through. Some good, some bad, some very bad. So we're going to get into it very quickly. Just so that the viewers are aware, these are the 5 categories. So you've got world-class, excellent, solid, disappointing, and failure. And first up is Nayef Aguerd. Where are we going with him then, lads?
Let's go disappointing. It's bordering on failure this year. However, when he signed, he came in with a, not necessarily fanfare, but some level of excitement. Did fairly well for us in the first season. Season transition is even talked from some about potentially making him captain when we were looking as to who Rice was going and trying to see who could potentially take that mantle. However, this year has been very poor to the point of, it's bordering a failure this year. So I will take a middle and go disappointing.
I think I'll back that call, but as someone who's incredibly excited for the deal and, watching him play now, I think when you combine that with the fact that he was apparently one of the most vocal people about Moyes last season, I think for Moyes, it's been a disaster. His number one transfer target came in, has been a complete waste of money, and also then tried to get him sacked.
Is he also our most expensive centre-back signing of all time?
Yeah. But no, Zouma I think was he nearly
Zouma was 30, wasn't he? And I think Aguerd was around
it
that,
would have
maybe
been
more.
I don't know. I think
the point is he's up there. He's 1 or 2, I reckon.
No, he is. Yeah, he's one of our most expensive defenders. I would only class it a failure if we're unable to get essentially what we paid for him.
I'll back down. I'll match that.
Yeah, I think we'll keep him in disappointed. I think, as we've said, the price tag, the expectation, obviously he was a signing we were all excited about when he first came to West Ham, and he just hasn't been able to adapt to, as we mentioned, physicality and just the pace of the Premier League. It just hasn't suited him at all. And the way Moyes is playing probably doesn't help either.
This is what my parents must feel like. What a disappointment.
Well, I was going to say, did they tier list you?
Yeah.
Every week. This week you're sitting just in a solid this week.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm yet to reach world class. Yet to reach it.
Right. Moving on. Areola. Been a very good signing. Does he make world class or excellent for you two?
I think for me, he borders on world class. I'm happy to back down, but I think when you combine the fact that he is a top level keeper, he didn't cost that much either for a keeper of his quality, around £10 million. I think that's a sensational deal. But also, you look at the amount of shots we faced this year, the second most in the league. He's pulled off some absolutely sensational saves. I genuinely think world-class saves. And when you combine that with the price tag, we would be so much worse off in the league if we've been playing Fabianski this whole time. And I don't mean that as a disrespect to Fabianski. I just mean that's how good I think Areola's been. So yeah. I'm happy to back excellent because he was a bit flappy in his first season. He was, I think not being the number one didn't help that. But I think this season, I think he's showing that he could well end up in a world-class tier.
Yeah, I'm happy to put him top of excellent. I don't know if he gets into world class for me. I think that's a big shout. But he has been very good, and especially for the value he was brought in at 10.7 mil. Obviously, the first season was a loan, so it was actually really good signing on paper. And we knew what we were going to get with Areola. We knew he was already a good goalkeeper from his time at Fulham. So yeah, what about you, Mike? Does he get into world class for you?
No, yeah, for me it's excellent. Steve's point is bang on in that for the money that we cost us to bring him in, we'll be paying at least 2 to 3 times that to bring in a goalkeeper of equal quality. So yeah, I think it was a fantastic transfer. He has been excellent for us this season. We'd be far poorer than we are, and that run of games we had where we were picking up wins. He actually, I think he prevented almost 5 goals across those games. So that again just points to the fact that although we did very well, had we not had the keeper of his quality, we probably wouldn't be 8th right now. We'll probably be a bit lower. But yeah, thank God we got him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think excellent's a good place for him to be. But moving on, Saeed Benrahma. Where does he go? Because there's varying opinion on him. He's obviously on loan at Lyon at the moment with options to buy. But as a signing, where would you put him?
Again, I'll say it's disappointing because when he was signed over Eze, which both me and Steve were both, let's say, vexed about.
Yeah.
So he was never really the signing we all believed we were going to get as well, because he was an absolute street baller at Brentford, and everything about that Brentford was brilliant. He never reached those heights and never kind of be able to get you off the edge of the seat like you would have when you watched him at Brentford in the EFL. He's been solid for us for periods, and he was vital at times for us last season. However, I think the disappointment is more that he never seemed to go to a level that we hoped he would.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, it's disappointing. And also, when we look at what we're going to sell him for, we're going to sell him for about, 10 to 15 million when it comes to his loan fee. As a player we bought for about 30 million. So it's just disappointing because it's a player that didn't necessarily hit the heights we hoped, didn't necessarily entertain as regularly as we hoped. And we're now seeing a player that, is also, we would argue now, well, we overpaid because of what we're going to get on the back end of it. Is
there a case for him to be in solid because of those kind of important goals he scored for us? I mean, looking just at last year, he wasn't great, but he scored a penalty in the semi-final against AZ. He scored a penalty in the final of the Conference League. Is there a case that maybe he goes up into solid just because of those types of goals that he has scored for us?
Absolutely, there's a case for it. Again, I'm happy to concede that because I think there is. I think depending on your opinion with Saeed, I think you either are going to look at him as a disappointment, failure, or you're going to look at him as solid and excellent.
He was also signed from the Championship as well, wasn't he? So
yeah, I think he's just proved to be a very Marmite player for West Ham fans, and I would put him maybe my personal view on certain aspects. However, I can completely understand if people said he thought he was a solid signing.
What about you, Slough?
I think the context of the signing makes it quite hard to really separate.
Yeah.
The fact that we could have Eze is still a bit of a kick in the teeth. And you look at the money we've spent in the Championship on players like Bowen and how well that has gone. I think you would be quite hard pressed to argue it's not disappointing. But as you say, he has come through with some very important goals.
Yeah.
Even this season, you look at the assist for Bowen against Brighton. He did bits, and I think I'm feeling kind, so I'm going to say solid.
I think he'll be like bottom of solid. I think that's where he'll probably end up. But yeah, yes. I agree. I think it's borderline between the two. But yeah, some of those moments probably.
He gave us enough positivity for me to put solid and
agreed. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next one. Jarrod Bowen.
World class. Next.
Yep. I'm happy to do that.
World class.
Straight in world class.
You know how much I love Bowen, so I'm not going to argue with that. Okay, next one. Another winger. Maxi Cornet.
Failure. Next.
This one's very hard to
say. We don't even need to discuss those, do we?
Yeah.
We don't even need to discuss them. Vladimir Coufal, should I say?
You know what? I'm going to say excellent. Right?
I agree.
£5 million. He has been an absolute warrior, and he essentially, just by his way of training, he dragged certain players out of their own arses to realise that they need to be a professional footballer. You need to work for it, and I think that's
his first season as well. His first season for us was outstanding.
Oh, it was incredible. I think only that season, only Trent Alexander-Arnold had more assists than him.
Yeah, it was him and Robertson above Coufal and Cresswell. So that was also the season we're going to Europe.
Yeah, exactly. He was phenomenal in that first season. Even his debut against Blackburn. Was it Blackburn who played?
His first game?
No, it was Leicester away, wasn't it?
Yeah, Leicester away. It was a mad dog.
he was insane. He was awesome. And I always remember the Villa game where he literally just absolutely beat the crap out of Grealish for 90 minutes. and even had to go at Fredericks for trying to help him up. Like that, that was Vlad
I think
best.
I think if we'd supported him more and signed a right back to help him rotate in, and we can go more defensive against sides, I think we'd be looking at a world-class signing because of the fee and because of the wages he's on. Like the money that we've spent, he has offered so much in return. You can't argue that. So
he's also 31 now, isn't he? I mean, he was when he signed, he was only like 28. So he had that peak, and then he was obviously playing through an injury last season as well. To try and obviously help the club.
Yeah.
I just think injuries have hit him. Obviously, he's lost a bit of that pace as he's getting older as well, and it's hard to maintain that, especially as we say, he weren't really getting much support at right back over the past few years. He was playing a lot of games and consistently performing well. So I think he's been an excellent signing, especially for the price we paid for him as well. So yeah, definitely. Would he go above Areola for you in terms of top of excellent, or just
I think
below?
for the money you've paid, he's neck and neck. I think for me, just as how much he loves the club, I'm going to say just above.
I agree. I'm going to go.
He didn't get chased by Giant Dog either,
and he catches the bus. Which he doesn't. I love that story.
Right. This is going well. Next up, Craig Dawson.
I'd say. I know people are going to say excellent. I'm just going to say solid.
Really?
Yeah.
For the price we paid,
for the money we paid, for the money we paid,
he was at least an excellent for me.
Yeah, I think you've got to put him excellent.
Look, you guys put him in excellent. That's fine. I'm just saying solid.
Look, it's not saying he's an excellent player. No. He does have his faults, but I think for the money we paid,
for the money we signed, it was excellent.
He more than paid his transfer fee back with the performance against Lyon away.
Could he not be argued that he was a world-class signing?
No.
Really? Because when he came in, it was
for me, I always look at the term world-class. When we talk about a world-class player, regardless of fee, it's a player that gets into any team in the world.
I think it's a world-class signing, not a world-class player.
There's
the impact he made.
I just can't.
Okay. Mike, wait. The impact he made, right? He came in I think it was December, January time, and on a short deal, and no one, absolutely zero, all of us, 0% of the fan base were like, "What are we doing?" He turned out to be unbelievable for us for a year and a half. Always committed, putting in solid performances. Yes, he made mistakes, but without him, we would not have been where we are today, and we would not have performed as well as we are today.
I think that's a leap.
Look at our defenders at the moment.
But he came into the squad due to injury, then he held his own and deserved his place. I think it's a leap to say without him we wouldn't have got where we would have that year. However, he did make a very telling contribution in terms of how we were at set pieces and stuff. And in that game against Lyon, he was absolutely outstanding. Hand and heart say that. But I cannot say he's a world-class signing. Regardless of the fee, I don't think he's a world-class signing for us. I think it's a very, very solid signing. And you could say excellent, but I can't.
I want to put him in.
Do you know what? I'm gonna die by my own sword here and say that for the money we paid, and let's not forget the fact that he wanted to leave, and he stayed because he wanted what was best for West Ham Football Club. He stayed because Moyes basically said, "Please, can you I'm going to say world class."
Yes.
I think yes, we're all admitting he's not a world class defender. I think his performances in a European competition at a very high level were faultless. It's not his fault we lost to Frankfurt. There's a very clear person there whose it is, and he was an absolute colossus at times, and I think it's very easy to forget that because he's Craig Dawson. So I'm going to say he just reaches the world class tier for me.
Yeah. I agree. I think for the value, I just think for the value and what he came in for, it was just such a contrast of what it actually turned out to be. And as you mentioned, scored so many important goals for us as well as defending well. Mike is not happy.
What I'm going to say is are you basing this purely on the fact that you expect him to be a bag of crap, and he wasn't, and that's why?
But that's also what makes it a world-class signing.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to take emotion out of some of it, but okay, fine. Let's
Right,
fine.
okay.
We'll go
let's
with
move
that.
on. Yeah, let's move on. Flynn Downs. Flynn Downs. What we saying?
I'm sorry, man, but it's a failure, isn't it? Like he came in, paid 12 million for him. They never played him in the position that he was brought in to play, and then they binned him off a year later on loan.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
think he put in some good performances in the Europa Conference League when he did play.
Against who was he outstanding against? And I'll put it to you this way: for £12 million, we could have signed a far better player. I think there was far better options out there.
But is he a failure or disappointing?
I think him being a failure is not just down to him. It's down to how it's used. But I think he's got to go in the failure tier, to be honest.
There's nothing on Downs. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think also when he signed, let's be honest, me and Sloth were disappointed with it as a signing because we felt they were better out there. And whilst he did do well, he never was put in his actual position. That maybe tells you something as well as to maybe the belief around his ability to play in the position he was signed in which to do. And then a year later, he's basically been binned off and sent off to Southampton and likely to be sold next year. Unless the only reason I see him staying next year is because we maybe don't sign enough homegrown players.
I think for me, I'm happy to have him in failure. I would probably put him just above in like low disappointing, just because of he was signed to be a backup. Really, he wasn't signed to start. And B, I think when he did play, he played pretty well. And like you say, he was played out of position a lot of the time, but still played pretty okay. Like at Liverpool away, he played right mid and did pretty well. So I don't think he was a complete failure. I think that's maybe too hard.
If he did pretty well, why isn't he getting back in the team? Why isn't he keeping a place in there?
There's a lot of players.
I know the answer was going to be because of Rice and Soucek. However, we did times play a free, and we could have put Paqueta elsewhere, or we could have dropped.
Yeah, I'm happy to keep him. I'm happy to keep him here. I think that's
I think it's harsh. Yeah,
it is.
Well, on the flip side, another DM we signed recently, Edson Alvarez. He's only been here for a short while, but what would you class him as a signing?
Bloody love him. I think
excellent or world class or solid.
I think you see the difference in how we play when he doesn't have. Some people talk about James Ward-Prowse as being a world class signing, and we'll get onto that in a bit, but. I think when you see just how much of a difference Edson Alvarez makes to our defence, he's bordering world class. I think
he's the metronome for our team. If he doesn't play, we don't tick. Even more so than Paqueta, because we had a couple of games with essentially a full team, but no Alvarez, and the inability in which for us to play was huge. And Alvarez,
he was close to going to Dortmund, wasn't he? He was actually expected to go there.
I can only feel. I want to say world class, but I
want to put him excellent.
I just think top end of excellent.
Let's come back to it.
Let's leave him here for now.
This will be one that if we go on a run in the Europa League and somehow make it to the final and he scores a header that wins us the game, he's going in world class.
He doesn't need to be a header. It can come off his toe, can come strike off of his nuts. I don't care how it goes in.
Right. Okay. Next up is Emerson.
I think he's been excellent for us. I think again, there's not one I can say world class because it took him pretty much 8 out of 9 months to get into the team. Not his fault. But he's been excellent, incredibly solid, and consistent this year. I think his performances have dipped a little bit since Paqueta's been out of the team. But who else can't? We can say that about pretty much everyone since Paqueta's gone out. But he's been solid, and quite frankly, he's up there for Hammer of the Year this year for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
you look at yesterday, and he was probably the only one of the very few bright spots in terms of him linking up on that left-hand side. I think, You look at what he brings to the side and what he brings to Paqueta as well. I think he definitely deserves the excellent spot.
I think as well, when he was signed, as we've mentioned it before, he wasn't really a first, second, or third choice left back. He kind of went, it was like fourth or fifth, and he was brought in kind of very late on in the transfer window. So, yeah, I think he's been an excellent signing. As mentioned, I think if he'd have done it over a longer period, he'd probably be in world class right now. If he was performing like he was this season, last season, no doubt he'd be in there. But yeah, we just haven't seen it enough yet to put him in world class. But whereabouts in excellent would you put him on this list?
I think where he is kind of all right, to be honest. I don't think he's been better than Areola this year, and I don't know. And weirdly, I don't consider Areola for Hammer of the Year. However, I just think that that's probably the position based on those players.
Yeah,
we're keeping
just behind Areola's fair.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Next one is Scamacca.
And it's disappointing to a failure, isn't it? And even the failure part's not even really completely on him. You know, elements are like application.
But do you know what? As much as I was positive about the signing, and I think there's a hell of a player there, I'm going to say failure.
I think it's a failure.
I think you look at his overall ability, but then you combine it with the injuries, which I know aren't his fault, but you then combine the fee and it's not his fault, but the mere fact we didn't replace him says that potentially the setup didn't feel he would be that missed. And I think that's pretty damning. I think for the fee, everything else, I think failure, which is sad to say.
I agree. Cool. Next one, another striker, Danny Ings.
Failure. Next.
If there was
Whereabouts?
If there was an option to
delete, has to be below Cornet, mate, because it's just how much we're paying him. He hasn't scored in a year.
Yeah.
Some of it's not his fault, but
I'm gonna maybe rattle a few cages here, but people were going, "Oh, he played well against Sheffield United." I could probably play well against Sheffield United I would press them a bit, and I bet you I can run faster than Danny Ings. It's genuinely, I think he's just been the worst signing of the Premier League era, and I include Savio in that because of the wages, because of the fee, because of the expectation, and also just how disappointing he looks. He doesn't look like the same player. He looks like he looks like the bloke you call on a Sunday morning for your bloody pub team, and he turns up with his arm out his transit van and gets his boots on and just kicks people. And that's that guy would have had more of an impact for us up front.
Right. Well, we'll keep him in failure. Don't worry, Sloth. Cool. Right. Let's move on to the next one. James Ward-Prowse.
For me, it's solid.
Agreed.
And the reason being is because of the reservations that both me and Sloth talked about are very pronounced at this point in time. How we performed at the start.
Solid day.
Yeah, at the top of solid, absolutely. Like the start of the season, the way he was playing, absolutely excellent to the point of you say, well, that's almost a world-class signing because he was so on fire and made people look stupid. We're one of those, and we happily put our hands up and went, egg in my face. All the humble pie you're willing to present me. However, in recent weeks, it's turned into what we kind of alluded to when we were saying we don't need a Mark Noble replacement. That kind of play for West Ham had kind of been and gone. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing essentially a Mark Noble replacement with excellent set pieces, but those set pieces are now going. So then now you're looking at it as go, well, what are you offering? Because if you're not now bringing goals or assists, you bring any other creativity, and all he's really bringing is a lot of energy to run around. But if you look at his heat map, it's mainly in our defensive third, not in the position half. So you're now looking at it going, we need more from you because I think when
the set pieces and stuff dry up and the contributions of goals or assists, you start to look elsewhere about what he's doing for the team. I think against Forest, recently it was such a big indication of lacking someone that will play that progressive pass or make something happen through the middle, because we just don't have players that can do that. Alvarez tries it. Paqueta will obviously do it in moments as well when he drifts inside. But by and large, you've got Soucek and Ward-Prowse in there a lot of the time, or even Phillips, who again, hasn't. We'll get. I mean, he's the next one on the list. So
who is potentially going to take the mantle of worst signing since Savio Neresco?
Well, let's move on to it. Good segue. Calvin Phillips, he's up next.
Disaster.
It is an absolute failure at the moment, isn't it? 500 grand a week is costing us. It's worse than Danny Ings, mate. It costs more than Danny Ings. Like Danny Ings, we put a fee on him. But
the only reason I would say it's not worse than Danny Ings is because it's not a permanent transfer. So
I don't want to say he's saving grace. But the reason why I would say it is worse is because he's the player that Moyes has been wanting for the past 2 years and been tracking, and he's brought him in. And not only does he not fit what Moyes, like a Moyes team, in my opinion, anyway, I just think it's just been so bad, so unfit.
It's also the fact that Moyes has been adamant on this signing for a long time, and he's brought his.
And that's what I think is embarrassing about it. It's the player you've wanted, and it's just you can't even seem to get a tune out of him.
What worries me as well is the decision making. You know, we covered it yesterday, but the pure stupidity you have to push a player and pick up a yellow card.
Coming as well. His head was so hot, like you could tell he was going to do something stupid.
Like, but what? Why are you doing that when you've already given away goals for? Absolute catastrophic signing.
I kind of do. Well, I don't feel for him because he's on about 500 grand a week, but he's trying too hard. He's trying way too hard, and I think he's trying to overcompensate for. I think so. Maybe not so much throughout. I think yesterday he was trying way too hard. I think he was pressing really well. I think we were trying to press from the first kind of 10, 15. But
honestly, if you're a professional footballer and someone's wasting time, and instead of going, look, referee, look, he's wasting time, and you go and push him, you're thick, and you need a major talking to. I can't stress it enough.
It was a stupid. It was a stupid.
Yeah, and people going, oh, the second one was harsh. It doesn't matter. He gives the referee a decision to make.
Yeah.
You're on a yellow card. Don't do that. 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
It's just you're just asking for trouble.
Dicko.
Right. Next one. Thilo Kehrer.
Before we move on, I think the thing I saw on Twitter earlier, which just made me laugh, was one of the West Ham fans saying, being talked about as the Yorkshire Perlo, but it's more like the Yorkshire pudding. Like that for me, just like, I was dead after that. Just like absolutely.
Poor Calvin. Right, Thilo Kehrer, where's he going?
I don't know. I feel like I should say sorry. He made some silly mistakes, but for the season, he did well for us when he played.
For the money as well. You know, we didn't pay a huge amount.
It's only like 10 million.
I don't know.
We like to make that money back, aren't we, with his loan? So
I think there was enough in there for the cameo appearances and performances against Manchester United to put him at the very bottom of solid. I think it's there
was a ricket in him, but I think he
was clearly happy here. Clearly had a good connection with the fan base, and I think he had enough ability on the ball. I think if he had a run of games, which he needed, we may well be sitting here and offering a different narrative. But I think bottom are solid. We've got a return on him going to Monaco, and the Prague celebrations.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Next one, another recent signing, Mo Kudus.
Oh well, look, potential world class. I think.
Yeah,
not for me.
It's the same as what we said with Eddie. I think it's just the same kind of thing that maybe had we had him, if he was here last season, I think we're probably saying that absolutely world class. However, he wasn't. But he's been incredible. He's been excellent this year for us. And if it hadn't been for him in a few of the games, this Burnley game, for example, as one of them, the Newcastle game, just having a shot from nowhere and scoring. Again, we could be worse. We'd be worse off without him this season. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I think I as well. If we hadn't had AFCON disrupt it, I think we'd be in a better position. And that's not making excuses for Sullivan, Moyes. I think you have to look at it and say that's had an impact. And as much as I think we can say it's been disappointing, his return, I don't think that's anything on him. I think the team has just been awful. Bowen has been poor as well in comparison. And if we're judging them on the same aspect, I think you've got to put them in the same tier.
Yeah. I think he's been I think it was an excellent signing. There was a lot of hype around it at the time. He integrated straight away. It didn't take any really time to get up to scratch. He was straight in and scoring goals. And yeah, it's only recently with AFCON and the fact
straight in terms of a Moyes straight in after about 3 or 4 games coming off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just throw someone straight in, can you?
Of course you can throw a player straight in. If they're a good player and they improve your team, they go straight in. It's as simple as that.
But he came in at a point where we were winning. We won like our first 4 games. You're not going to change that.
Certain players you change things for, but I will
not for that.
Yeah, okay.
Right, next one, Alex Crow.
Oh, mate, it's a failure, weren't it? Like, I felt for the lad, but it was a failure. I think he has to go at the bottom.
Poor man. That poor man crying in his race car bed. It's just, failure.
Yeah.
Jesse Lingard.
Excellent. Move on. I will not spend any more time talking about Jesse
Lingard. Class? No. Yes, he was.
No, I'm not having
it. As a signing.
I'm genuinely not. No, I don't care.
You said no. You said you're not bringing in your emotions.
No. Yeah, right. Fair enough. But solid. On him, I am. Excellent. If you carry on, solid.
Nah, he's world class, man. As a come on, take him out. He was unbelievable for that 6 months.
Yeah, he was great. He was great, but solid, excellent. Even that's it.
But why?
Why? Because
he tailed off towards the end.
Yeah, he tailed off towards the end, and that's there you go. There you go. Done. Excellent.
Wow.
And look, he goes top of excellent, but I think.
I mean, he does go in world class, realistically, doesn't he? Like we shouldn't.
No, because he's a loan signing. He didn't sign.
I think if you're talking about the impact he had at the start of it, if he'd kept that form up, 100% you'd be looking at world class.
However, Dawson in world class.
However, he had the decision to join West Ham United or stay at Man United.
Yeah, but we're not judging it on that. It's judged as a signing.
Yeah, but I think when he had the option to actually sign,
I mean, a loan is still a signing.
And he worked all over the summer for it, and then went, "Oh, actually, no, I'm going to stay at Man United."
Yeah, but this isn't what this tier list is for. It's not what this tier list is for.
It's a loan signing, mate. I don't care. It's a loan signing. It's excellent.
Okay, but it's still a signing.
If we would have signed him,
a world class,
signed him and he carried on that world class. Yeah. But he was a loan signing.
For it to have been world class, I think we'd have had to have signed him at the end of it.
Yeah.
But why? That's not the point of the signing.
Hey, this is a democracy. It's a 2-1.
You know what? I'll put him excellent. I'll put him at just no. I'm not happy.
Just put him at the top of the excellent.
Just no. I'm not.
I totally understand that the impact he had at the start of his loan period was world class. It was second to none. But he tailed off, and then we failed to sign him, and that's a combination of two. So he drops down to excellent for me.
Yeah, and I'm willing to be completely irrational and just say excellent.
Right, next one. Mavropanos.
I think solid. You know, yes, he's made a couple of mistakes.
Disappointing.
But by and large, with the minutes he's had and being constantly jumped in and out of the team, I think it's very difficult for a player to maintain or have any kind of consistency when you're used so sporadically. And I think he has been solid in larger games. The game against Arsenal at the Emirates, at the Emirates, he was absolute quality with Ogbonna.
Yep.
Fantastic header. I think he's been solid. There has been aspects that happened to this point, like the silly mistakes that led to some goals. But again, I also put that down to the lack of match fitness, match practice, and that's
decent fee, incredibly versatile, and incredibly underutilized given how poor our defense is at the moment. So I'm going to go solid.
Yeah,
he's got more than enough time to reach another tier if he's actually played.
Yeah, cool. Lucas Paqueta.
Disappointing. Move on.
Well,
whereabouts in world class does he go for?
Just behind Bowen.
Yeah, I was going to say second.
I'd say top.
I think the only reason he's just behind Bowen is because of the fee.
Yeah.
I think Bowen was a bargain who's made the ultimate step up, and for the fee involved, Paqueta, look, realistically, he's probably going to move on this summer or next summer, and I think Bowen is going to be far harder to get. So as a transfer, he's probably going to have a longer impact for us. So I think that's a world-class signing, as opposed to a world-class player who is going to be a very good signing, but costs a lot more. And with this betting scandal or over his head, it's impacted a number of issues. We could well be sitting here and saying, what about Cole Palmer? Where would he go on this list? Because if the FA hadn't got their grubby little mitts in and said, but had stopped him from moving, we might well not have him. And look, that would be a huge negative. But I think there's none of that with Bowen. So Bowen's got to go top of the tier for me, and then I think Paqueta's got to be second.
I also think the amount of time Bowen's here as well. He's been here longer. He just had a longer time to impact. But yeah, I think there's a case for both to be top. Soucek next. Solid or excellent for me.
Soucek for 18 months. First 18 months was excellent to the point of almost world class. He was getting talked about even going to Bayern Munich. I
think he was world class for the first 18 months.
I think the first 18 months, unbelievable player for us. Since then,
he's just dropped down.
I think you can only say it's been solid. He's been a catalyst for a lot of the good at West Ham. However, just the way he's been, I guess maybe he's been utilised, and the lack of impact he has in a majority of games, unless he's scoring, is such a point that I'd say it's a solid player because he helps us out massively defensively and he does chip in with goals. And I think the last 2 years have overtaken and overshadowed that.
I think we are forgetting one of the biggest issues here, which is just the terrible recruitment around him. And look, you if you're judging him based as a technical footballer, he's probably going to go in the disappointment. But if you're judging him on a transfer, what he brings to the team and the squad, I think you have to put him in excellent. Because
I was going to say, is there a case he could be an excellent?
The bargain, the impact he had on games, the general feel-good factor he brought to the club when he joined, and relationship he has with fans who have more than 2 brain cells and can actually understand that, it's not just his fault that we're playing the way we are. And yes, he's limited as a footballer, but if you play the way that he is built to, he's going to get you 10 goals. He's going to get you 10 assists. He's going to, throw himself at everything and give everything for the shirt. That's what West Ham fans want. Yes, he shouldn't be starting all our games, but imagine bringing him off the bench if we had, say, a Fofana in the squad, someone with quality, and then after 70 minutes, you can bring Soucek on. You're looking at potentially an absolute wrecking ball, a game-winning player. So I'm going to say he's an excellent signing. If not just for the value, the goals he's brought, and the fact that I genuinely just really like him as a bloke as well. I think he's come in, he's not caused any unrest. He works hard. He clearly likes the club, and in that first 18 months, as you said, the fans could not have loved him more.
Yeah,
but it's not his fault that that's gone sour with certain sections of the fan base. That is entirely on the recruitment team. Sullivan.
How far up would you put him?
He's at the very bottom end of.
I'd probably put him above Emerson. I'd probably put him above Emerson as a signing.
Yeah, I would. I think. Do you know what?
Maybe even Areola.
Yeah,
I think has Coufal been better than Soucek as a signing?
I think if you look at the cost, obviously he cost what 3 times less, and
But
And
then Soucek also came in at a time where I think he came in January, didn't he? And we
He
kind of
came in
needed.
with Bowen. Him and Bowen came in the same
And
window.
they were both, I mean, Soucek more so, but Soucek was really important to us staying up that season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. Like that first 18 months, that 6 months on loan in that first season of lockdown, he was phenomenal, and to the point of there were even links to Bayern Munich. That's how good he was and how well he was performing for us. However, maybe it was the indulgence of Declan Rice, which we kept saying was probably had too much of, that had impacted him. But then since then, he's not really recovered or been that player that we had in those first 18 months. And since then, it's just never quite been the same for him in terms of those levels. Now, maybe that was because he was performing above expectations, or maybe he sets us a level of expectation that we now view him as not being at that same level, when in fact he's still performing at that level. I don't know, but yeah, he has been an excellent signing. He's also been at points you would look and go, oh, it's just a solid one. So he fits into either category for me.
Yeah.
I'm saying excellent.
Cool. 2 more left to go. First up is Vlasic.
It's a failure, isn't it? Again, another failure. Not all his own fault, but he come for 30 million quid. Never really kicked a ball in anger.
How far down does he go?
Marino, and then he's above Cornet. So basically, he's the third biggest failure.
Third best failure. Yeah,
that's scary, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think as well, because he was signed for, it's like you say, such a big fee as well, and there just seemed to be no method to that signing.
He was signed over a striker. We needed a striker, and he was signed. And then there was all of these accounts and all of even within West Ham going, but he can play as a striker. It's like he's not a centre forward, and he's not a centre forward in the Moyes or in the Antonio mould. And when we were signing, it was like, just because he can play there doesn't mean he can play there for us.
He showed glimpses of ability, but nothing more. So
okay.
Poor guy's going in failure.
Right. Yep. Last up, Zoo.
I'd say he's solid. Besides, if he hadn't kicked the cat, we'd probably say excellent. But he's been a solid signing.
Just injuries as well.
Considering his injuries, and the injuries have really caught up to him in the last year or so. So I'd say above Ward-Prowse, because I think had those injuries not been there and had that controversy not been there around the cat, we probably will be saying he's an excellent to world-class signing for us. Even though
I'm gonna veto that. I'm gonna say he's behind Ward-Prowse in solid. I don't think so. For the fee we paid, for the wages he's on, for the conduct included in general, and
hey,
look, the controversy that brings around the club. I've said my piece on it. I'm not going to get involved in that anymore. But it does stain his image at the club, and I think the fact that now he has deteriorated so much while he's still on such high wages, I don't think you can put him top of solid.
But then I think, again, we've said about recruitment and we use that as a way to elevate Soucek. I think we also need to use that as a thing for Zouma, and that we probably should have moved Zouma on because of the injuries, and now we're playing him because we haven't done the recruitment.
But Soucek came in as a bargain. Soucek came in as a bargain, and he's on lower wages. Zouma came in with a load of hype, and look, he was a very solid signing, but then his injuries just massively impacted him.
Yeah, and
he's on huge wages. So I think if we're going on the multiple tiers, on the multiple factors for a transfer, I don't think you can put him above Ward-Prowse, because Ward-Prowse can at least,
I think we're forgetting how good Zouma was.
I personally would say.
I'm not forgetting that. I'm just factoring in this season as well. This season, I don't think you can argue that he has been an incredible disappointment.
Okay, everyone has.
This season. And everyone has, but they aren't the captain. They aren't on 125 grand a week.
Being captain's not his fault.
And they didn't all come in for what? £30 million. So I would say put him behind Ward-Prowse, because
I think I think for me, the only thing stopping Zouma being an excellent signing is his injuries. I think and his performances this season, because even when he got injured, when he was performing really well, he'd come back straight in and perform just as he was. He was still at the same level, and he made such a big difference to that defense when he was playing. I mean, he was really, really good for us.
Basically,
he's
this team's Winston Reid, isn't he? Basically, our best defender who's constantly injured, comes in, plays well, gets injured, out again, comes back in, performs, and is our best defender.
And seems to be a little bit deteriorated each time.
Exactly. I think this team's version of Winston Reid.
I think if we did this tier list in a year's time and he was still here, he wouldn't even be talked about like we're trying to get him into excellent or top of solid. He would be disappointing or bottom of solid. So
I'd say just behind Ward-Prowse. So I think that's fair.
Mike, you're the deciding vote, because I want to keep him above.
I personally think above, because the first couple of seasons have been so solid. The injuries have. Yeah. And obviously, again, I go with you, Steve, on the controversy. That was really bad. But I think had the injuries not happened, then that controversy we'd be talking about as an excellent to solid signing anyway. So that's why I would say he's at top end of solid for me and above.
I think those are two very big ifs.
No, they are. They're massive ifs. And we said he should have been sold in the summer. We had an opportunity to. We said no. So I think, again, if we're talking about, when we talked about Soucek and elevated him because of recruitment around him, hasn't maybe allowed us to utilise him in the best way. I think had we taken the, I guess, brave approach to say, you know what, the injuries are starting to rack up and we are getting offered good money, let's cash in, rather than going, no, because we want to make him a captain. Arguably, we should have got rid of him and we should have pumped the money into Moyes' choice in Maguire. I don't like Maguire personally, really. However, I think that would have made sense to have done that shift, because then he would have brought in a captain. What's that?
He has functioning knees.
Yeah, he does have a functioning knee.
That is the basis of a West Ham signing now, isn't it? Just functioning limbs.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. This is our tier list. We did it. We made it. A few controversies in here, a few vetoes along the way, but yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Screenshot this, share it around, and show us what a failure we are as tier list creators. But yeah,
you can put us in the disappointment section.
Yeah. I've got a feeling I might be in the failure one.
Well, maybe this time next year, if we get enough guests on, we'll do a babbling tier list of guests. We could put ourselves in.
Jesus Christ, man, that would be horrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Right. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it was quite a long one. So yeah, make sure to leave a like on the video if you're still here. Subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. And lads, until the next one.
Come on, you
Lions.